Hello my loves, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. If it's your first time here, hi, my name is Jennifer Buckingham, like the palace, and it would mean the world to me if you subscribed to my channel, hung out, stuck around for a while, became part of the palace family. I would absolutely love to have you here. Today's video is going to be a little something different than I normally do on here. You're used to seeing me doing fun try-on hauls or vlogs, but today I definitely wanted to talk about something that deserves this month of awareness. November is Diabetes Awareness Month, and I wanted to share with you my diagnosis story and my journey of reversing type 2 diabetes. This is kind of the first time I'm going to be talking about this really in full. Nervous, but I'm also excited because I was, kind of searching around, especially when I was first newly diagnosed, and I didn't see a ton of people sharing their experiences. Just even in America, it's estimated that 30.3 million people have type 2 diabetes. Learning how to take the best care of yourself is empowerment. So I really wanted to share my story here today, talk to you about my background, how I was diagnosed, and then what the actions basically that I have taken to put myself in the best mental and physical health that I can be. So if you're interested in that, it would just mean the world to me if you stuck around. So without further ado, let's get right on into it. Like very much blending into my plant background, I was like, I need a green, serene moment to talk about this. We're surrounded by plants. We have all the good vibes, good candlelit, some incense. We love that here. Solid self-care, good vibes things. And that I've noticed, and even my friends who have type 1 diabetes, we've noticed that there's such a stigma around talking about diabetes. And that's something that I definitely want to change. So if you're watching this newly diagnosed, I'd love, to hear in the comments things that you're working through and going through, anything that I can do to help. Obviously, I want to disclose I'm not a medical professional or licensed therapist or nutritionist. I am just simply sharing my story and with the things that I've done, the advice that I've received from thankfully some great medical professionals that has put me in a much better place. It's important to talk about this because there is a stigma associated with diabetes, and that needs to be erased because knowledge is power, and feeling shame does nothing for us other than hold us back in life and bring us down. And you can never make a positive change in your life if it's out of shame or self-hatred. It needs to come from a place of love and self-worth and knowing that you're so worthy of taking good care of yourself, whatever that looks like for you. I'll give you a little bit of a background. Now, before I do want to give a little bit of disclosure, I am going to be talking pretty candidly about weight, also some past disorder, eating, and mental health that I've dealt with. So if that is just not your vibe right now or what you need to hear, I always want this to be a safe space. So feel free. I have many other very fun videos. So if you want to click onto one of those, I totally understand. But I just wanted to be really honest about that. We're going to have, some frank and candid conversation surrounding this. So just wanted to kind of preface that before I begin. So to kind of give you a very brief background, I am someone who has gone through trauma in their life, had several large traumatic events, and gone through some pretty difficult situations in my life. And I'm always happy to talk about these things that I've overcome, so let me know if that's something that you guys want to hear story times on or reincorporate further. My goal is just to have people not feel alone in what they're going through, and if I can help anyone with my story, that's my goal, and I want to help you guys and help raise you up and knowing that you are so worthy and loved and you have someone here in your corner. Growing up and even as a child, I definitely developed quite a few issues with food. Honestly, battling several different types of eating disorders throughout my life. Diet since I was 10 years old, very unnecessarily in my opinion, and also even in my doctor's opinion. So, and I know as many of us who grew up bigger or not being thin, there was a lot of focus on that, and I know that I'm not alone in that. So through that, I had tried basically every diet in the book. My weight would roller coaster up and down. And the only times I had really ever lost weight or attained that goal was through very disordered eating. So my relationship with food was in general very harmed for many years, really until I kind of started a self-love journey, a lot of inspiration within the plus size community, and just starting to accept myself and my body as is. I was really just trying to figure out a way of freeing myself from this disordered eating because it was severe. Not even just one thing. I had dealt with a very wide spectrum of different disordered behaviors that was really coming from me not being able to process my trauma. Bodies like hold on to trauma that's happened to us, And I feel like a lot of things my mind couldn't handle, like my body kind of took on for me instead. So I was holding on to a lot of things that was manifesting in weight, or as well as just disordered eating. As time went on, I was finding more peace and neutrality with my body. Fast forward, I had this really bad back injury. So basically I fell down a flight of 12 concrete and metal stairs, injured my back really badly, and then also I still deal with it to this day. I have nerve damage. So that event in and of itself made it difficult for me to move in the way that I used to. There was some circumstances and not really having like addressed a lot of mental health and self-care stuff. I also was kind of dealing with a lot of depression as well as anxiety. So kind of fast forward to the beginning of 2020, I started doing creator work full time. And obviously that's when everything happened in the world. So we all have been here. We all know what's going on with that. But I really was struggling very, very badly with my anxiety. So basically my anxiety really honestly got to a pretty crippling level. I was very heavily struggling with panic attacks, and so much of them were health related, something that I really, really struggled with. So I started therapy. I found an amazing online therapist. She is the best I've ever worked with, got on the right medications I needed to be on. Shout out to my Lexapro babes. Still felt like I was hiding in certain ways because that injury was so debilitating and being in pain. So after I've been in therapy for about a year, feeling in a much stronger place mentally, feeling in myself that I was not feeling my best. I feel your best is completely personal to you, and your weight is not your value, your worth, and everyone, no matter what their body, everyone deserves respect and autonomy as a human being. That's something really important to me. It was definitely in a better place mentally, and I was looking at where I was physically and how I was feeling. I was in pain a lot of the time. I was just not feeling like my authentic self. And I don't honestly even know prior to this that I did know what my authentic self felt like, because it was so wrapped up in a place of lack, and I'll talk about that more later. But let's just move into the diagnosis first. The only symptom I had, so out of the blue, I just noticed my clothes were fitting a little bit differently, and I was not intentionally trying to lose weight, change anything, but I noticed that I had lost about 25 pounds out of nowhere. I honestly didn't really chalk it up to anything. None of that was intentional. I'd also be thirsty at night, but I always drank a lot of water, and it was never like all day I'm just like dying of thirst. It would just kind of be like a little bit more at night is when I noticed it. I was diagnosed, and this happens, I feel so many people don't get diagnosed until they go in with something else. What happened with me is that so I had just come back from a trip to New Mexico, where I grew up. So I had just come back from that, and it was in basically the first week of June. So I had noticed that I was having sharp pains in my right side, and it wasn't the kind of like stomach ache or like anything I had normally kind of dealt with before. It had felt like it was just like a sharp burning pain that kept constantly getting worse and worse. And at one point I thought maybe something wrong with my appendix, what's going on? So eventually it just was bothering me to the point and was not going away, where I was in so much pain that I was like, I need to go to the hospital. Like if this, my appendix burst or something like that, I need to go and get this checked out. So I go to the emergency room here, which is Cedars-Sinai. I live in Los Angeles, and I really want to shout praises for Cedars-Sinai. For Cedars-Sinai, I check in, I say, what's going on? They do blood work immediately on me. And then once I get called back, and I feel like when you get called back a little bit more quickly in the emergency room, you're like, something's going on. So they pull me back into the emergency room, hospital bed. They're starting to get an IV in me, and I keep asking me, are you diabetic? And I kept saying, no, I'm not. I've always been checked for diabetes. People have had both type 2 and type 1 in my family. So it's something since I was honestly a child, I've always been getting blood tests for. And even crazy enough, so in my last physical, which had not even been a year before that, doctor, and he said that my blood sugar was slightly elevated when he took my sugar, but your A1C, which I'll tell you, so the A1C percentage measures how much sugar is attached to the blood's hemoglobin protein. The A1C test result gives you a measure of how well your body has controlled the amount of sugar in the blood over the past 2 to 3 months. Normal A1C range is below 5.7. A level of 5.7 to 6.4 indicates prediabetes, and 6.5 or more indicates diabetes. So to give you an idea, when I took that test, my A1C, not even a year prior, you guys, was 5.3 is what my doctor said. So it was not pre-diabetic, it was completely within a normal range. So taking my blood work, and they're doing this, and also to give you, if you don't know about blood sugar, the normal blood sugar range for someone without pre-diabetes is in a range of 90 up to 140 after you eat. So that's a safe zone for you to be in. They kept asking me, you know, are you diabetic? You know, I said no because I didn't know or think that I was. They proceeded to say, we need to give you a shot of insulin. Blood sugar is elevated, and you know, they were saying to me that my blood sugar was really elevated. You guys, so later on I found out the numbers. My blood sugar was over 400. To give you an idea of how severe that is, you're looking at looking like diabetic coma. Can be extremely severe if your blood sugar is that high. Like that is, I have like chills talking about it. It is off the charts high and dangerous. And then my A1C, mind you, so within a year's time went from a 5.3, so completely not diabetic, it was a 13, you guys. So it was just off the freaking chart, and that was terrifying. They gave me a dose of Humalog. I'm not sure how many units they gave me, but they gave me Humalog. And then the doctor there, because they also needed to look at what was going on in my stomach and see what was happening with that too. You know, they came over to me and they said, you know, we're gonna need to admit you in the hospital because blood sugar was at such a dangerous level that they needed to bring it down to some semblance of normal and start getting this treated. So obviously I lost it then. I've never been hospitalized for anything. This was the first time I've ever gone through this experience. Thank God my husband Graham was there with me, but I totally lost it. They had to give me anxiety medication because I went immediately into a panic attack. It was like, yeah, you know, when some of your worst fears have come to life and you're suddenly dealing with this out of nowhere. So I get put up in my room. Cedars-Sinai is honestly a phenomenal hospital. Road of the next few days of like figuring out what was going on. The reason that I actually went in from that pain was from an ovarian cyst. So I had one that was about 3 times the size of my ovaries, meeting with an OBGYN point where it's like we need to monitor if it needs like emergency surgery to remove it or see if it shrinks. But it was causing me like a ton of pain. So the next few days, honestly, in the hospital it's all kind of like one big blur together. It was a lot to process. It was super traumatic. Go in with this like stomach pain, knowing something wasn't right, but not knowing it was like this like level of intensity. So in the hospital though, oh my gosh, my nurses were so phenomenal to me. They were so kind and nice. I'm obsessed with hospital ice. I was like the girl who loved the hospital ice. They would bring me huge, like those big like hospital cups of ice all the time. It was just the kindest thing. They were so incredibly kind and nice to me. And so at Cedars-Sinai, I cannot sing praises enough, because this is another thing that I've noticed that many people, when I've been sharing my diagnosis, they did not get information. So many people also went in with symptoms like completely unrelated and happenstance of going in to the doctor or the emergency room for something else and then just finding this in their blood work. So it's super important, you know, to be getting your physicals and checking in these things, because God forbid, you know, something like this comes up. So over the next few days, they had started me on Lantus at night. So that is a longer acting insulin. So I was taking 24 units every night before I went to bed. I also was on Humalog. So every time before I ate, so I only could eat breakfast, lunch, dinner. And every time before I ate, I would have to take an injection. And then I also had to take a pill called metformin. So that is what I was first put on. And very thankfully, I not only had a diabetes like specialist doctor come in, talk to me about everything. So that's who the doctor that I still work with today is. He came in, I met him in the hospital, but they also had a nutrition team and a diabetes care team that explained to me, you know, how to check my blood. They, you know, explained to me how to prick my finger, how to check my blood, what I'm looking for in terms of where my blood sugar needs to be. I also spoke to a dietitian, you know, talking about what foods are going to be the most beneficial and like really, you know, help stabilize my blood sugar. They even had like a chaplain come in, as well as someone from like their counseling services. So even though it was a very traumatic thing to go through, it felt like it was very mitigated by all the support. I had that OBGYN who was checking in on me, and every single doctor was very kind. They were honest, right? Like hard conversations talking about weight and what I eat. This all kind of plays in together that are hard conversations to have. But I was treated with respect and kindness and honesty. I'm very encouraged that like, hey, you're young. Like I'm 31 years old. It's like, you're young. You can take care of this. Can be a reversible thing in your life. Meeting with all these people, my blood sugar had come down into like higher 100s, kind of reading close to 200, and then kind of into, I think it got down, I think in the hospital, the lowest, the 160s. Full 3 nights, like 4 days. So I got out on the 4th day, and oh my gosh, guys, I was, I had like bruises all over me. I had like IVs. I was also on so much like pain medication because that cyst was so painful. I was on some like I was on morphine. I was on some really heavy narcotic painkillers. So, and then I honestly was like, please stop these. They were making me feel so sick, but I was still in a lot of pain from the cyst. I get home, I have like all this information and care, you know, like packets of information, all of this like insulin that I need to take, a whole new realm of all this stuff that can be super overwhelming. Grandma's actually so the kindest and like literally made me a kit of all of my stuff. So I, like I said, you know, I had to take 4 injections a day essentially, and then pills as well. So I was on quite a bit of medication at the time I got out of the hospital. But at that time, I really was like, okay, this is my time that I'm either going to let this overtake me and I'm going to fall apart. But I was like, oh no, girl. Like, oh, don't worry. There were times where we definitely had falling apart moments, but overall, I was just, no, you're going to take this as a form of self-care. Everything that you have to do now is self-care. Every medication you have to take, the way that you eat, this is self-care, because through therapy and doing the work that I had done, I'm worthy of this. I do everything that I can to take really good care of myself. Where I am now and kind of go over everything. After getting out of the hospital, I went to my diabetes doctor that I met in the emergency room. I am now one of his patients. So I go in and I already, you know, was making progress and steps to lower my blood sugar. In there, he takes me off of the short-acting insulin, which was amazing. So I now no longer, this is after about 2.5 weeks. So I now no longer have to inject myself before each meal. He did put me on a once-weekly shot called Trulicity, on Lantus, the long-acting insulin at night, metformin. Then he also gave me another pill called Farxiga that essentially helps you continue to pee. It's your peeing out sugar, what he had put me on. And over the course of the last 5 months, I've gotten off all of that except for metformin. So metformin is the only thing that I take anymore. One pill before each meal, and I'm hoping that I get off of that soon, but I am completely off any injectable. Whether you are someone who is struggling with pre-diabetes, diabetes, someone who's feeling like their body isn't feeling the way you want it to, I so recommend seeking compassionate, kind, professional help. That should not be, but is difficult to find, especially when you are a plus size person, is not getting the respect and care that you deserve. But please, you are your biggest advocate. You deserve to have compassionate, wonderful, honest care. That is what you deserve, and what you are entitled to as a human being is great, compassionate care. So to kind of go in what the past 5 months have looked for me. Now, I'm definitely going to be talking really candidly about weight, about food I eat, something that has still been a discovery process for me. So I just want to start by saying this is the first time where I've lost a large amount of weight in my life, where it feels very different from the past. So every time that I was losing weight or potentially trying to do this in the past, it was really based out of a lack of self-worth, that losing weight is going to solve all my problems. I'm not worthy in a bigger body. And that is so far where I am at right now. But it's been very different, because not seeing through that lens and still looking and accepting my changing body, but it not being attached to my self-worth and it does, and sometimes like that pops up, like those old disordered feelings and patterns come up, but I have tools to help deal with them now that I didn't before. And I know that I am just as great of a person as I was before this as I am now, but like what I am feeling overall is stepping very much into my authentic self. I think a lot of the times when people's bodies change or look back at a point of your life, like, oh, I want to go back to this, and I'm not trying to go back anywhere. I'm trying to move forward into a brand new place. So I don't know what that fully looks like yet, and that's okay, all part of the journey. But it's like, no, I don't want to go back to this person who had lost all this weight but was like miserable and not taking care of themselves, and their hair was falling out from this. I want to move forward. The past 5 months I've lost over 90 pounds, which is a big number, you know what I mean with that. And that is part of the change. Like, part of the change is accepting that my body has changed, that it's reduced. Like, what does that mean? How do I handle that? How do I handle these feelings that come up, and how am I showing up for myself in that? How am I not attaching that to my worth as a person? Weight loss is a very difficult conversation. I said earlier in this video, I believe that every person deserves respect and autonomy over their body, and everyone should have the choice to do what is absolutely right for them. And I do feel proud of myself, and that's not just attached to like, oh, my body is minimizing. Like, proud that I put my self-care first and I'm just doing what I need to do for myself. You know, give the middle finger to diet culture, because that is the worst. I don't believe in diet culture. I believe that these companies just want to make people feel terrible about themselves. I don't believe in that, but then I also am in the same space. I had to do things that were the best for my personal health and what I needed personally, not recommending that anyone else does these things, but I just had to do what was authentically right for me. So I'm trying to like kind of live in that middle ground of where it can be truth, of that I don't subscribe to the really negative things that bring people down, but simultaneously I had to make positive changes because my health is a priority to me. Changes that I've done is I've just really been trying to focus on eating the foods that still bring me joy. So food, yes, of course, food is fuel and nutrition, but it's also pleasurable and it's community and it's friends. In the past, every time I've ever tried to lose weight or something like that, I would really ostracize myself and not partake in those things, and I'm so done with that. How I generally eat is I really try to focus on finding like my carbohydrates from fruits and vegetables, eating plenty of that, a bunch of really nutritious fats like avocados, eggs, cheeses, avocado oils, olive oils, nuts and seeds, things that keep me really satiated and full. I don't want the feeling of going hungry. I think that that's BS. If you're hungry, your body is telling you to eat something. I love making yummy proteins. I'm someone who adores cooking, and that's something that was really important to me. Is I need to adjust things in the way that I eat. I want it to be delicious. I want this to be for my life. This is not like a temporary period until I hit this certain weight and then I can do whatever I want. It's not that at all. This is how I have to eat for life, because my goal is to put this into remission and keep it in the best place. I've made those adjustments, and I genuinely enjoy eating this way. I don't feel like I am deprived. Getting foods and a way of eating that I can sustain for my life, that genuinely feels really good for me. I want to find a way of nourishing my body that makes my body feel great, and I feel that so much of this work has also translated into body changing. This is authentically what I needed to do for myself. So I'm feeling really grateful for my body for carrying me through this. Grateful for my body than ever. And like I said before, I'm not trying to go back to a certain place or look a certain way. It's like I'm trying to move forward, and whatever that looks like, whatever that weight is, whatever I'm just feeling my best at is my goal. There's no certain number I'm ascribing to or certain thing. Like, my goal is just to feel really good and take really good care of myself and just continue practicing the positive things that I've been culturing and learning and continuing to grow. That's my goal. Another aspect of all this is how I move my body. Something I'm really trying to focus on is joyful movement. I know in the past, my dog is down here. Hi, Rim. Want to say hi? Want to say hi? Come on. Come here, buddy. Remy wanted to say hi really quick. Hi, buddy. Hi! Focusing on joyful movement, things that actually bring me joy. We went on this big hike the other day, and I was just so grateful to be there. At the top of it, I was like, whoa, I can't believe I did this. Moments you really surprise yourself and it's, wow, body, we've come a really long way together. It just made me so full of gratitude. And that's my goal, is finding truly joyful movement and incorporating that into my life. We're on this journey or struggling in it. Know that exactly, like, it's not a linear journey. There are definitely days where I felt super defeated, where like I'll even have these emotions. I can't believe this all happened to me. Like, how are we here right now? But overall, I do genuinely have this feeling of when you step into your authenticity and your healing. I read this quote the other day. You will cry tears of gratitude when you realize that your healing journey was the path home to yourself. And that is so true. That's how I feel. Is I feel like I have lived in such, I don't want to say an inauthentic space, but in a space of knowing and doing as much as I could with the tools that I had. And I feel like it's this kind of next level of growth. I really joke about it with my therapist. I'm like, it's like soul archaeology. It's like you dig down and you're kind of working on one thing, but then there's more and you dig down. Well, it's like these new layers that I'm digging down, where I feel like I'm genuinely showing up for myself, what my self-care authentically means to me. I'm grateful that, you know, you babes stuck around for me to tell this story. I just want you to know that if you are also struggling with this or any other type of chronic pain or any illness, I just want you to know that I'm sending you so much love and just so much hope and good energy. I know how much of a battle this is to go through, but you are so worthy in doing whatever you need to do to take good care of yourself in the way that feels best for you. Like I said, this is just my story and the things that I've done, but it's something that I feel is so important to talk about because there are so many people that are going through this. So grateful that you were here. Hear me talk about my story with diabetes and how I'm in the reversal process of it. I can't wait to update you babes more. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Sending you babes so much love, and I'll see you on Friday. Mwah. Bye.